Right, continuing with emerging adulthood. As mentioned previously, emerging adulthood is this time of peak physical health, and I kind of highlighted sexual and reproductive health because frankly students often are more interested in that and have more questions about it during class. Now the thing is, kind of a trade-off, is that emerging adulthood is not necessarily this wonderful, fabulous, safe time, because during emerging adulthood, people are particularly likely to take risks. Risk taking is much more likely than when you're older in particular. And so you have low rate of disease during the 18 to 25 age period, but a high rate of violent death. And part of this is because of risk-taking behavior. So doing things like driving without a seatbelt, texting while driving, having loaded firearms, abusing drugs, substances, and even addictive gambling. These things are particularly likely during this time period. And so the potential consequences of those behaviors kind of counterbalance the benefits you get from peak physical health. And fatal accidents, homicide, and suicide result in more deaths than all other causes combined. So this is not necessarily a universally safe time. Now, let's see. Okay, I'm not gonna say that one there. All right. Now, a big issue, particularly relevant to my students because you are college students, and I know I have some folks from the outside too. You're always welcome here, but particularly relevant to college students is there is one thing, especially among college students, that's very common, and that is drinking behavior, particularly binge drinking. So even though many colleges restrict alcohol on campuses, you do have dry campuses or campuses with specific rules about alcohol. People are tempted, people get access. Part of the college culture in the United States very often involves drinking, heavy drinking, strong peer pressure towards drinking, and a lot of binge drinking. So binge drinking is when you drink a lot all at once, and it's not like it's a operationally defined amount, like you must drink this much for it to be binge drinking. But binge drinking has particular consequences because it is a lot of alcohol at one time. It can lead to severe physical consequences and risk-taking behavior, and people have died from binge drinking. There are severe consequences towards binge drinking. Not necessarily light drinking, but definitely binge drinking. We have strong evidence that that is not a healthy behavior. That is not a desirable behavior to engage in, because it's associated with lots of negative consequences. And so, as I said, many campuses try to just outright restrict drinking. Folks find a way. And in some colleges, especially in Greek organizations like fraternities and sororities, sometimes it is so much worked into the culture that it's almost unimaginable to imagine like not having parties and events without having that. And I do want to make it clear, because I know I do have students who are in Greek organizations. It's not a universal. There's a lot of diversity within organizations in terms of how much the drinking culture is prevalent, but we have definite evidence of lots of really awful situations, including death, happening because of that drinking culture. So we have to be aware of that. Your body's in peak physical health, but sometimes you do unhealthy things with it. Illegal drug use peaks at about age 20 and sharply decreases with age. So you are very likely to experiment with illegal drugs during this time, or more likely. And then a lot of people who do continue after age 25, they like to quit. They recognize, oh yeah, this is not the best thing that I got involved in, but especially if you develop a physical addiction, it's hard to get out of it. All right. Right. So the next video, I'm going to talk about some cognitive aspects of emerging adulthood.